So in our last video, we spoke quite a bit about what the education experience looks like in order to become an architect. I wanted to follow up with that on the other two components to becoming an architect, because if you remember, we talked about three components or processes to becoming an architect. Number one being your education experience, number two being your internship experience, and then number three, your testing requirements or your testing experience. So internship experience is a really important process to becoming an architect. I believe that internships are really what take the ideas, because in a nutshell, school is really about developing skill sets in terms of design thinking, developing your skill sets in terms of understanding how to draw buildings, how to detail them. And I'd say it also has a lot to do with just kind of honing your ability to speak and to be articulate, both in verbal and artistic mediums. And that's really what architecture school is about, is developing those skills. Internship is a necessary part to becoming an architect because it gives you the professionalism. You have to really understand and experience what processes are involved in an architecture project, essentially from start to finish. And that's simply too much to cover during a 4-year degree in undergrad and a 2-year degree in a master's program, like we had discussed earlier. So internship's really important. You get to apply the skills that you've developed while you were in school. In a lot of instances, it's really about, your internship, which is the hours that you put forth during your internship. It's about a 3-year time span. NCARB is a online portal or system specifically for architects who are architecture interns, and it kind of keeps track of your experience, your hours towards becoming an architect. And there's many different categories to become an architect. There's practice management, there's design development, there's schematic design, there's construction documents, there's construction review and processes. So there's many areas in which you're required to get experience through your internship. So what it looks like is you'll often get a job either during your master's degree program and you'll work there part-time during the summers or during your breaks, or you'll get a job right after your master's degree program. And that's essentially when your first job is when that internship starts. You'll begin your NCARB, you'll sign up for NCARB, and then you'll start logging your hours through the NCARB system. And you'll have to be mindful about the experience that you're getting with your employer. So you'll want to make sure that when you're working for an architect after school during your internship, that you are working with an employer that has your best interests in mind. You want somebody who is going to give you that diversity and experience where you can hit all of those different experience areas and to be able to do it as efficiently as possible. So like, for example, if you go to work somewhere and they specifically just have you working on construction documents, that's where you're actually developing, plans, sections, details, specifications in order to develop a set of drawings to build a building. That is just one area of the required experiences that you need to be getting. You should be experiencing all levels of the design process during your internship. So that means client facing, meeting with clients, getting to work with them, even initial meetings. That's great to be able to be one of the first faces that a client has when they come to whatever organization you're working for. But taking that and also doing schematic design. Schematic design is a little bit more of like the upfront, a little bit more playful. you're developing the building's overall size, placement, relationship to the site, and basic layout. So that's schematic design, so you should be getting experience there. Design development is working with the client, making decisions, and this design development phase has much to do with budgets, establishing, what the client budget is, how much money they have to spend on the project, and being able to come up with a design and specify materials and finishes that will match that budget. That's experience you don't really get at school that you'll get in your internship. Construction documents is another experience area that you'll want to get during your internship. And just like we had discussed earlier, that's the plans, specifications, and everything to basically produce. It's the drawings and everything that you need to be able to build a building. It's the kind of rules, I guess, or the outline or the blueprint, if you will, the blueprints for being able to build a building. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're getting a broad spectrum of experience. I think another important thing is just office management, understanding how to communicate with, professionally with clients, with other people within the office or consultants that are helping you on the project, other engineers, civil, electrical engineers, anything that might be required, mechanical, for the development of the project. Understanding proposals, how to pitch work, how to go after work. That's another important part of your experience that you should be getting through your internship. Yeah, and in understanding the basics of how the business operates, understanding how the world of architecture flows, what it looks like. You should be getting that level of experience. Another aspect is, when the architecture firm has a project that's being built, being able to go out on job site inspections, being able to approve, progress payments on projects, responding to RFIs, requests for information from the builders or the owners, understanding what those processes look like, approving change orders. All of this is experience that you should be having during your internship, which would essentially prepare you to be able to maybe even run your own practice someday. So that's a really important process. Like I said, the internship, it's a minimum of 3 years worth of hours, and they break the 3 years into a set number of hours that you have to complete. And you can take upwards of 5 years or even 10 years to complete that number of hours if you want to. It just depends on your unique circumstances. Not everybody blows through the 3 years all in one shot, but a lot of people do. In my experience, I didn't do that. So I was teaching at the university while I was also doing architecture on the side. So I was both teaching and practicing architecture as an intern. So I was only getting about half the number of hours per year as I would if I was just doing architecture full time. So, and that just kind of goes into what I was saying in my previous video, that the path to becoming an architect is always going to be different for everyone. And I don't have any regrets. I loved my teaching experience. There's a lot of lessons I learned, and I take those lessons with me. And I feel like they have just made me a better architect and builder for it.